Wakaraiua Tuahu Exiles, what's going on? So, today I'm going to give you another update on everything that I've changed during week 2 of Trial of the Ancestors. I'm going to try and not to drag my feet as I explain things. I'll do my best. I apologize in advance. And let's get going. I'm going to describe any changes in the gear first, and then we will move over towards skill gems, and then after that we will notate our passive skill changes. And just a quick note, I know this is a bad Wandering Path tree. You don't have to tell me. This was simply so that I could pick up Wandering Path and then all of the increased map modifier effects for those two maps that you saw in the showcase just now. I wanted there to be as much more life on those maps as possible. One of them having significantly greater in that regard than the other. So that quick note is over. Back to the gear. Abhorrent Interrogation. I don't know if I talked about this in the last video, but I bought myself a pair of Abhorrent Interrogations with +1 to maximum frenzy charges. The Arn's Anguish that I purchased before has not been changed. Boots. We did upgrade our boots, I think, from our last video. Not sure. Anyways, we got ourselves an additional 10% movement speed. We got ourselves some chaos resistance as an additional suffix, since we don't need that strength anymore. We also kept the lightning resistance, kept a similar amount of life, and then upgraded by 2% increased spell damage. I didn't want to spend as much currency as I did on these boots, but ultimately I wanted something with chaos resistance, as I did feel like we were lacking in that regard. I went ahead and crafted on some Exarch and Eater of Worlds implicits. These are the ones that I found appealing with the amount of currency that I had available, so I stuck with them. They're doing me well so far. I do appreciate the additional life regeneration. Our quiver has changed. Our quiver changed from a Maloney's Nightfall. Maloney's Nightfall does say that it's going to be a ton of damage if you can get that increased damage with hits against enemies that have been blinded. But you also want a double corrupt on it that gives you high tiers of flat damage, such as, you know, tier 1 corruption for lightning damage, and then maybe a cold or fire or whatever you can get to be a higher damage there. But that's a very powerful quiver, but you do need it to be a 60%. Otherwise, I think the damage dips a bit. But why did we go with the skirmish? So we went with the skirmish because it gives us that beautiful implicit of 30% increased global accuracy rating that is very appreciated. And it does something different for us. Our build operates heavily off of attack speed. We really, really, really want as much attack speed as we can possibly get, and everything else is secondary to that. The reason being is because of a mastery that inverts monsters we hit. It inverts their resistances. It's very powerful, and the more we do that, the more our actual damage is going to come through. So I look at skirmish as an increase in attack speed in a different way. There is no quiver elsewhere in the game, or any other additional notable that I can pick up that will give me +1 summon ballistas or totems. And it does specify, it doesn't say spell totems. It says attack skills have +1 to maximum number of summon totems. Feels like it was made for us. The additional intelligence is certainly appreciated, as it will allow us to use more tattoos, maybe for more chaos resistance, maybe for maximum resistances, something like that. Defensive things, I think, is what I am valuing tattoos the most for right now. We could also be picking up one of the ancestral tattoos soon, and one of the keystone tattoos soon. I'm really excited to play around with those. And yeah, that's kind of what I am using skirmish for right now. There's no other way for me to get that final +1 totem, and I think +1 totem is certainly a lot more attacks a second than me trying to eke in, like, you know, 10% more attack speed and a little bit more chaos resistance. That's my reasoning for that quiver. You can use something different. It's certainly possible. You could use a rare if you really wanted. You could use the Maloney's like I was describing. Those will certainly look much better on Path of Building if you're fixated on a numerical display. Anyways, Warped Timepiece, unchanged from the last time I think I talked about it. Still using Watchtowers as our anoint. we still want as much attack speed and cast speed as possible on it. We are looking out for a better one, but that would basically be a perfect one. We used a Divine Orb on our Wilma's Requital. This is the same one since last time, but I wanted a higher accuracy amount on it, and we got it. We got it at 422. I don't think I'm going to use another Divine Orb on it, unless I just find myself in a place of not having anything else to do on the build. But I don't think I'll get there, as there's other builds that I want to try this season too. So stay tuned if you liked what you've seen here so far. I'm not going to talk about skill gems yet. There's some big changes there. I swear, just give me some time. I'm setting up the stage. So, Hiri's Ire. I think I talked about this last time. I used a Divine Orb to get it to the place that it is now, with the added cold damage and the specific amount of evasion. But I did buy a high base percentile Hiri's Ire, so a little bit of an overinvestment there. Time clasp unchanged, and then our bow is unchanged. So that covers the gear. Let's talk about flasks real quick. We re-rolled our flask to have these beautiful modifiers of increased evasion rating and then increased effect. Gives us a ton of evasion rating. It's insane. We have risen our chaos resistance up to 50% and aiming for it to be higher. So Forbidden Taste is just an insane defensive layer. Like really, really crazy. If you're taking a big hit and you've got a significant amount of chaos resistance and some life regeneration under you, I would recommend a Forbidden Taste, as it's basically a cheat death mechanic in Path of Exile. Oh, and you also want it to have the enchant used when you take a savage hit. Otherwise, it's not really something you want to piano flask. It's a very, very last resort, you never want to see it used flask. Taste of Hate. This helps us convert some of the physical damage we're going to be taking over to an element, and it also gives us a little bit of an offensive boon via physical damage as extra chaos, as that would be applied before the conversion of Artillery Ballista, I think. I don't know. That's what I'm believing currently. I took off the enchant on my Quicksilver Flask because sometimes it just felt like we were moving too fast at 175% increased movement speed. You may believe differently. It's just what I'm doing currently. Once I get to a higher level and I don't really care about my positioning as much, I might put that enchant back on, where, you know, use when full or use when you activate a travel skill or something. But, you know, it's what it is for now. Let's talk about skill gems real quick. We have dropped our arrogance setup completely. We are no longer using War Banner. We are no longer using Determination. We are no longer using Vitality. That's 4 skill gems gone. And in their stead, we have moved a bunch of things around. First and foremost would be Tornado and Arcane Surge. Right now I have a Divergent Arcane Surge, and the reason for that is because Divergent Arcane Surge increases the buff duration so that I don't have to press this button as much. Because while Tornado does operate off of projectiles, we can't target with our totems to make them recognize Tornado as something they want to hit actively. So cast this as if it were to just be an Arcane Surge buff. We use Wilma's Requital, and it does give us attack speed. Mine is a little too low level right now. I could raise it a little bit higher once I get Tornado to maximum level, because it costs 31 mana, and you want to pay attention as to what your Arcane Surge costs in order to activate at a single press. You don't want it to go above that, as that would be kind of awkward. You're sitting here, right? You're casting your totems, and then you have to press it twice instead of just once, and then move along with your day. And also, don't play around the Tornado as if it's like your build. It's just this like icing on the top, happy to have been hit kind of a thing. Otherwise, it's to activate your additional attack speed buff. Blood Rage, I think we've talked about this last time, but we got it qualityed. That gives us a lot of additional attack speed. Blink Arrow has been introduced to the build, since I feel like I'm not really sure. I just kind of missed it. Does that make sense? Having 2 movement skills is a huge quality of life, and I think that this build deserves that much respect. And we were also forcing ourselves a lot into auras. and some of those auras just didn't really feel like they were achieving anything beyond what we were already doing. We do lose adrenaline by not using War Banner, but that was also kind of awkward to initiate. And then it's like this button that you don't really want to press or compare to these other things that can give you more attack speed, such as Arcane Surge or Blood Rage. Going to take a quick look at the other ones. We've moved Flame Dash out of our chest piece, and I'm going to go over the chest piece again real quick. It's Feeding Frenzy, Mana Forged Arrows, Mirror Arrow, Frenzy, Culling Strike, and Life Tap. So we added Culling Strike after taking out Flame Dash from that 6-link, and that can be activated by our Mirror Arrow and our Frenzy. So since they're both Life Tap, they cost no mana, and every time I press my main skill, or any skill that is a bow skill, so my Blink Arrow or my Artillery Ballista, I'm casting out my Frenzy, and I am casting out my Mirror Arrow. Mirror Arrow is a very, very comfortable way to make sure I'm getting Culling Strike procced as soon as it can happen. Because if I go over to my Mirror Arrow, he has quite a lot of attack speed. He has about 7.5 attacks per second. And with Feeding Frenzy, at 44% chance to proc on hit with the targets he's hitting, I have that buff permanently, so long as there's something to hit. Because things do die quite rapidly, and we benefit from all of these things via Spiritual Command. That increases and reductions to minion attack speed also affect us. It's very, very powerful. Quick note on the bow. The reason why this hasn't changed yet is that I'm still crafting it. I do want it to be very pretty before I show it to you guys. I want it to have triple elemental prefixes, and then I want it to have a tier 1 attack speed suffix with a Veiled Chaos Unveil. What is it? Increased minion attack speed and cast speed as well. That alone will give us another 35% increased attack speed than this bow right here. That is an incredible amount of attack speed. And then the final suffix, I could add on maybe another 25% attack speed if I'm near a rare or unique monster. We are going to be blasting 10 totems at possibly 6 attacks per per second. That is wild. I know Explosive Arrow says that it capitulates upon how much attack speed you have and how many charges you need via that attack speed, or how many charges you get via that attack speed. But this is crazy. We really, really, really love attack speed, and it's fun to play as well. I think that does it. Other than Molten Shell, we swapped out Steel Skin for Molten Shell, and then we did that because we picked up Iron Reflexes. We don't need as much mana reservation efficiency anymore, so we dropped that small cluster jewel that we were using before, fit in a jewel that provides us Corrupted Blood immunity, some attack speed, some life. Everything else is kind of unimportant. What else has changed via our passive tree? I'm thinking. We put a bunch of tattoos on that give us chaos resistance. Those can go anywhere. I'm going to be adding some more tattoos up here via the intelligence section. Watcher's Eye is unchanged. We allocated one of the passive points over towards a totem mastery, that 5% of damage taken from our hits is taken from our totem's life instead of us. And we've also gone back towards Graceful Assault, because after realizing that 60% of attack 60% of 20% is 12%, and then we get that times 2 via this notable. That's a lot of free attack speed, and then it also gives us evasion and armor. So Iron Reflexes loves that. And the reason why we went Iron Reflexes is that we were still kind of getting one-shot in maps, and it really did not feel good. I was also doing Elder, and I was dying via his Siphon, to which this armor will not help us via that Siphon, but it sent me down a path of understanding that while that damage cannot be mitigated, the way that I was mitigating things before was what was causing my woes, such as I had on Petrified Blood and a really low amount of life, a huge amount of life regeneration, but that is nothing in the face of a larger dot, because then that dot just wins. Your life regeneration is meaningless unless it just trumps it. And in doing so, we regained all of our life back. We're now above 4,000 life, and we can comfortably get through that siphon without much of a worry. At least, if we're ready to react. I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt. It is a very scary dot. It does get off a guaranteed 1 second, but you can drink your flask, and you can probably just blink arrow out of it very, very comfortably now with the way I've set things up. I will be recording boss footage so that you guys can see what this looks like on a boss. Elder gets melted, Maven gets melted, Shaper melted. We have so many totems that Exarch rolling ball phase is usually not an issue. Eater of Worlds gets melted. I'm currently saving up to do my Feared. Have not run into a Cortex yet. I don't really feel like buying one. And our last passive skill points, I'm probably going to take out Totem Mastery and then put in points towards this basic Jewel Socket so that I can get an additional 16% attack speed from a Quickening Covenant, which, if you don't know, let me go ahead and show you. Looks like this. Minions have increased attack speed. A perfect one for the attack speed modifier cost me 1 Divine Orb, and it will give our clone a little bit of a defensive layer via that spell suppression chance. I think that does it. If I've forgotten to talk about anything, I'm sure it will be brought up in the next video. This might be the last skill gem / passive point skill update. Due to this just feels really solid. This feels like done in terms of where I am headed with passive skill points, and I don't think I can get sockets to make more sense than this with the way I have it set up. I feel like it's really unique. I literally am the only Artillery Ballista Hierophant on Path of Exile Ninja, or POE Ninja. Let me just double check that real quick. I'm going to go over. Let me change scenes. Pow. It's not working! Oh, it's because I'm stupid. Alright, so let's do a quick search. Artillery Ballista, and then Hierophant. Yeah, I'm literally the only Artillery Ballista Hierophant in the game, or at least on Path of Exile Ninja. There used to be a couple of others, but I think they re-rolled to something else. They were messing around with Elemental Overload as well. I think at the time that I was playing around with Critical Strike Chance. Kind of sad to see that those two aren't here anymore. Sad. Anyways, I hope I didn't bore you to tears. I hope that you will give this build a try. This is actually crazy. We are very, very strong. And this is a bow that I have picked up and, spat a couple of essences at a long while ago at this point. If and when I do get my upgrade, this build will be a monstrosity. I am pretty sure we can break 6 attacks per second, and with an additional, 700 elemental DPS on my bow, I am ready to see what it will do to pinnacle bosses. So yeah, hope I didn't bore you to tears. Hope you found something that you could extrapolate upon for your own builds. I hope you will tune in next time. Join the Discord. Community's growing every day. I'll leave the link to do so down below. Don't forget that I stream on Twitch every day over at twitch.tv/Vashtalos as well. And I will see you in Rayclass Exiles. Wakarua Tuahu. Or Wakarua Tuahu? Wakarua. You know what I'm saying. Catch you next time.